Hey there, Teisha here, and welcome to the Hurdle to Hope show. I'm very happy that you are here, whether you've been listening to Wellbeing Interrupted for over a year now. Thank you so much for your support. For those new to the Hurdle to Hope show, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. This is really exciting, a little bit out of my comfort zone because if you're listening to me on Apple or Spotify or wherever you listen to, I'm also here on YouTube. No more hiding behind the microphone. I'm here with my Hurdle to Hope logo there. And this is really exciting for me because it's, again, pushing me out of my comfort zone a little bit, but I think it's so important to not only do that, but to meet people where they're at. And so many people watch YouTube now. That's where they get their podcasts from. So I thought, what better way to connect? Also, although not today, all the other episodes we'll be doing, they will come from my property at Daisy Hill. That has such beautiful healing energy, that property, that I want to share that with you as well. So I'll be doing the introductions and conclusions of each podcast from our property. I'll take you on my walker to different spots of the property and we can just sit there, feel the energy, hear the birds or whatever else other nature is around, and you can be part of that as well. But if you're listening on the other formats, that's fine. You can still listen to the birds. You just mightn't be able to see them. Okay, so just want to, I guess, chat with you here today before I start interviewing people. I've got about 5 or 6 interviews I've already done, so very excited about that. But I just want to take a moment to really share with you why the Hurdle to Hope show. It is 10 years since I wrote my book, Life Interrupted, My Journey from Hurdle to Hope. And that book was about my life with MS. And what I wanted to do in that book was, yes, share my story. Is an incredible story of what I've been through and how I managed to keep moving forward through some really difficult times. But the second part of the book was sharing how you also can move forward from hurdle to hope. So that's been really important for me. When I started doing a lot more keynote talks, I always talk about and sharing with the audience that every single person in the room either has been, is being, or will be dealing with an unexpected hurdle. And although that's all of our reality, I talk about the good news being that you can have an impact on that experience, that it's your response that defines your experience. So that has been the basis of Hurdle to Hope, my business, and what I'm doing in that space. And I thought I also want to bring that to the podcast and not just sharing, health stories, which are really important, but recognizing that so many things we can be faced with, and it might be MS or cancer, but it also might be burnout from a job. It might be the grief of losing a partner, a parent, a child. There's so many things that we have to deal with. And what cancer has really taught me, and I'll share a little bit about my story shortly, but what cancer's taught me is that everything I learned in dealing with MS, I've been able to apply to cancer. And those insights have worked. And I think I don't want to hold on to all of those to myself. I want to share them with you as well. But I also want to learn from others. Even though I'm dealing with specific conditions, I think we can still learn so much from other people with where they're at, how they got there, and also learn from people who provide support. And yeah, and that's the space I want to create on the Hurdle to Hope show. I'm really excited about it. And from the outset, I think I just want you to know that that is, the basis of the show, that it acknowledges that we all share this common experience of having a life interrupted by an unexpected hurdle, but we also share the, I guess, good news that we can have an impact on that experience. So, just really briefly, sorry, I just flipped over because I've made some notes and I'm not going to pretend I'm memorizing everything. And I'm going to be really relaxed on these and just pretend we're chatting to each other across a coffee table. And there won't be heaps of makeup and there won't be making myself look amazing because I'm living in a caravan at the moment. Lighting isn't fantastic. Camera's not fantastic, but I thought I don't want that to stop me from sharing and starting this show. Um, and a couple of things I want to say from the outset. Well, first of all, my voice, apologies, sometimes it does go funny. If you've been listening to Wellbeing Interrupted, after my cancer diagnosis, about 10 months after that, I lost my voice. I couldn't speak for well over a year. No one could understand me. The muscle above my voice box tightened up so much that I couldn't get more than one or two words out. It was the most frustrating experience of my life. And given that I've experienced not being able to walk, not being able to use my hands, all the other things, this nearly broke me. But it's improving a lot. I work with this amazing speech therapist, but sometimes it still does go a bit croaky and funny. So apologies. But again, I didn't want that to stop me doing this show. And yeah, I guess from the outset, I really want to be upfront. This podcast show is not about becoming an expert on a particular condition or particular life interruption. Again, the emphasis is learning from others about how they respond to adversity. Also, my language. I'm very intentional with my language. I live Hang on, I'll stop that because I don't even want to say I live with. I was diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer. I never say I live with a terminal illness because that's not the energy I want to put out there. So for me, I am a big believer where thoughts go, energy flows. Big believer in that. And I think if I keep saying I've got a terminal illness, I've got a terminal illness, I've got a terminal illness, then that will filter my experience in life. And I don't even say now I live with stage 4 breast cancer. I'm in remission. The cancer found on my liver, my bones up here, and I think one of my scapula, they're no longer there. So what's the point of saying I live with stage 4 breast cancer? So I'm very intentional in my language. I talk about being diagnosed with my conditions, both unactive at the moment, and that's how I want them to stay. So yeah, and as we go through and talk to other people, I think you'll see, language does play a big role in how you deal with a hurdle. Then, sorry, I'm flicking through. My experience, if you haven't listened to lots of podcasts, I'll give you a really quick background. Diagnosed with MS at 22, it was so unexpected because at 22, I was just finished 2 degrees at university, working in a training and development role at Telstra, which is a telecommunications company, the biggest one in Australia. Life was going to plan. Diagnosed with MS, didn't even know what MS was. And for me, MS early on was incredibly aggressive. And although that was horrendous at the time, and it was so awful. I spent at times months and months in hospital, petrified I'd never walk again, petrified at one time I couldn't use my hands, couldn't even pick things up, had to learn how to drink right, like horrendous. But I got through all of those moments. And I also had incredible experiences. We talk about Hurdle to Hope. At the end of dealing with 2000, when I was in hospital for months, I started walking and then went over and lived in Scotland for the year. 2003, couldn't use my arms, hands. I was back in the wheelchair, told I wouldn't walk again. I was progressing. Then the following year, I went over to Romania and volunteered in a day centre for children with special needs. So I've had all these incredible experiences where I thought, yeah, I've gone from hurdle to hope, didn't sustain it, kept getting sick. But at that time, I learnt so much. And that's what I shared in my book, Life Interrupted, My Journey from Hurdle to Hope. And I now look back at that part of my life and it feels like an out of body experience. It doesn't feel like it happened to me, but I'm almost grateful it did. And I learned how to get through those moments because being diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer at the very beginning, it was awful. It was the most scared I've ever been in my life. It was, yeah, it's hard to find the words to describe the fear of being told, I was told mastectomy is cancelled, your cancer spread. You're told that there's no point, you have to manage your condition because it's now terminal cancer. So dealing with that was made so much easier from all that my younger self had been put through. And I'm grateful for my younger self for getting through those moments and learning how to shift your mindset to deal with different situations. I've then evolved so much in the last 4 years, 3.5 years. It was Feb 22 when I was diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer. I've learnt so much during that time. And I've learnt that hope will always be there because when I was diagnosed and then lost my voice, I couldn't then work, I couldn't do what I was doing. Instead of curling up, it was like, okay, what are we going to do now? And fortunately, my incredible partner and I were on the same page. We started going for drives in the country. We started thinking, oh, imagine this. Imagine being able to live out in the bush, or at the beginning, we thought we'll get a bush block and have somewhere to go on the weekends. And then all of a sudden, we buy 100 acres of land. And of course, I wish I didn't have cancer or MS, but I am so happy in my life now. I look back with absolutely no regrets. I've done so much in my 20s, early 30s with MS. Now I'm living on 100 acres of land off the grid in a caravan, not so wrapped about that at the moment, but that will change. And I can't believe where we're at, and I'm in remission. So I guess that's a little bit about me. So when I'm talking to people, I'm not always going to share my story, but I want you to know that I've been there. If you're a guest coming onto my show, know that I have lived through the darkest times. I've felt the fear. I don't think I felt it right at the beginning when I was going through MS. I think a little bit of toxic positivity was there. I think I was scared of being too authentic of my feelings and opening up and not being able to stop, the emotions. But with cancer, I certainly felt the fear. I've definitely explored those emotions. I was able to move through that. So, anyone watching or listening to the Hurdle to Hope show, anyone on here as a guest, do know that I have been through some dark moments, but I've also been able to work out how to move through those and to always now know, and this is the tagline. Been good. I've set up my the Hurdle2Hope show, and someone said, "What's your tagline?" I thought, okay, I'll work out a tagline. And I think, what do I want people to know who are watching the Hurdle2Hope show, listening, or hearing other episodes, or me speaking at events, is that even in the darkest moments, hope will always be there. So I want you to know that when you're wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, absolutely petrified about diagnosis, about a new situation you find yourself in your life, that even in those darkest moments, hope is always there. I like now thinking about hope as my friend. Hope is there in the darkest times. When I'm most scared, there is always light and hope. And my guests will show you that even in their darkest moments, there is always hope. Then other people I interview who support those going through dark times, who give us different options and different ways of thinking, they show us that there is always hope. But I think why some people don't experience that lightness or hope or are unable to move forward is that they have a closed mind. So I talk about the most important ingredient if you're going to move forward from hurdle to hope is being open-minded. And MS taught me that. I kept getting sick because I had a closed mind at the beginning. I didn't know what to do with MS, had no idea how to create a life that I guess prioritized my well-being. So what happened there was I kept getting sick. I kept pushing through, ignoring the symptoms, getting sick, going to hospital, getting fixed, getting back into my life until I got sick again. That doesn't work. So part of this show is demonstrating that you can do so much to have an impact, but only if you're open-minded. So when you listen to some of the guests, some of the stories, have an open mind. I'm chatting to a great guest, Pauline, in a few weeks, and she talks about all different natural therapies or holistic healing and have an open mind. Don't be scared to challenge your thinking. If you've always thought no to natural therapies, that's okay. I do medical as well. I've got an oncologist, a neurologist, a surgeon. I see everyone, but I also well, since I've started healing from MS and cancer, that has been because of holistic healing as well. So if you're going to be part of this whole Hurdle to Hope show, which I hope you're going to be, have an open mind. Get as much out of all the guests as you can, and you'll do that by having an open mind, having a curious mind, constantly challenging your thinking, challenging your approach to whatever hurdle it is. So if someone's talking about cancer, their approach to living well with cancer or living well post cancer or whatever it is, you can still use their approach in your life. So I really hope you get so much out of this show. I'm so excited by it. I also ask if you can share at Hurdle to Hope is on YouTube now. At Hurdle to Hope, the same handle is Instagram, also on Facebook. Also, I'm on LinkedIn and getting a lot more active on there. Teisha Rose, not many of me around the world. So please follow me there as well because I think this show can do a lot for a lot of people, but I need to get it out there and I need your help to do that. So if you can share this to anyone who's experiencing a dark time in their life, health condition, past trauma, mental health condition, all of what we're talking about will help with that. I've got two guests who are talking about neurodiversity and the impact that has on their life and their families' lives as well. There's so many conversations. So I'm very excited. I'm really appreciative of you watching this. I'm really appreciative of all the support I've had, and I am so excited about where the Hurdle to Hope show can go. I know it will help lots and lots of people, and I hope you will help me to spread the message. The other thing is watch next week. In about a week's time, I'll probably have it in the show notes here as well. I'm doing this new Mindset Reset video series. So keep your eye out for the video series, which will be a Mindset Reset. It will put into context everything I'm about on Hurdle to Hope. and I'll give you all of those details, in the show notes next week. They'll come in the show notes in about a week if you're watching this a little bit later. Otherwise, I'll talk about it in next week's episode as well. So again, thank you so much. I'm very excited about here. If you're seeing me for the first time, hi. I'm glad you're here and here on YouTube. But as I said, keep watching as you always are listening, as you always have as well, and share this podcast with whoever you think will benefit from it. And if you've got an amazing Hurdle to Hope story, or if you're supporting people through different holistic healing or an allied health professional, who I've got many who help me, I'd love to have you on here as a guest so you can help all of us move forward from Hurdle to Hope. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I look forward to chatting to you next time from outside in Daisy Hill. Bye.